That's it, y'all. We are live here inside of Lobtown. The final here. Auburn gets the close 5-point victory, 87-82. Appreciate everybody for jumping in here with your boy Ike Jones, man. We are got a lot to talk about, man. Come on in here and let's talk about all of this stuff that's happened in this game. Auburn gets the victory, but it is a narrow win. Texas made a valiant comeback in this game. Definitely want to get your reactions when you get in here. Go ahead and share the stream with somebody so we can get in here and talk about it. 87-82, Auburn gets the win against Texas. High point man for Auburn once again is Johni Broome with 20 points, 12 rebounds, so another double-double for him, 5 assists to just 1 turnover in this game. Down the stretch, though, tight ball game out here, and Auburn had to do a lot of work to close this one out. But listen, I told you guys before that getting road wins in the SEC not going to be an easy thing this year. Texas is going to be a team that didn't go away. They outscored Auburn 55-48 in the second half of this game to make this a lot tighter. Auburn had a 21-point lead at one point in time, and Texas closed that lead all the way down to 3. The big thing here, Auburn made their free throws in this game. 21 of 25 from the free throw line tonight to make this game. Both teams missed. Texas missed 5 free throws. Auburn missed 4. So it wasn't a really huge imbalance in that regard. The fouls were pretty similar for both teams throughout this game. 20 personal fouls on Texas, 22 on Auburn. So, and if you're watching with me live, I keep track of like when I feel like bad calls, good calls were being made out there. And I think this was a pretty well evenly officiated game. But Auburn comes out with the victory. Props and shout out to freaking Kaluma, who was out there going crazy tonight. My boy had 34 on 12 of 16 shooting, 5 of 6 from the daggone 3-point line, man. Arthur Kaluma, 6'7", 225, senior from Glendale, Arizona, lit Auburn up tonight, but Auburn was still able to come away with the victory. Appreciate everybody who is jumping in here on a late night. I know people got to get up and go to work in the morning. I do too, but we are in here live inside of Lobtown talking a little Auburn basketball. Definitely want to get your thoughts. I know people are probably going to be frustrated with this because of the amount of tension down the stretch that happened in this game. But listen, you gotta get wins whatever way. But if you are feeling a little stressed, man, shout out to our folks over at the Rogue Shop. Make sure y'all head over to rogueshop.com and use code REPORT when you do. Get you 15% off at America's #1 online dispensary. Sleep, you might need a little bit of that tonight because you got stress or anxiety, maybe even some pain relief. Need to get that over to my boy Denver Jones or CBM tonight after they bumped knees and shoulders and all that kind of stuff. You can get that over at America's #1 online dispensary, the Rogue Shop. But appreciate everybody who is jumping in here. Definitely want to get over to the comment section to see what you guys are talking about. Get your live reactions to the game for tonight. A lot of War Eagles here in the comments. Appreciate all of those. Maine saying a win is a win. It's a W. I see all of that. Ben Bloodworth says Rogue Shop really did pick the perfect fan base. They absolutely did, man. Because stress is a part of being an Auburn fan, unfortunately. Patrick McKelvey, I am going to butcher that name every time initially when I try to say it. I need some Rogue Shop. Yes, you do. Robert, here's it is. The technical foul on Broome was bullcrap. He got slapped in the face and no call. Where I agree with you that he was like, I don't know. He didn't say anything crazy to the ref, but he did walk right up in the ref's face. And refs don't like being showed up, man. They just don't. And you got to know that as a senior player, 5th-year senior, that you can complain about it, but you just got to kind of let it go in the moment. And on the next time out, you talk about it. Ice water for him knocking down that step back fadeaway situation there late in the shot clock just to get a shot up. But he did get slapped in the face, right? But listen, you just got to keep your composure a little bit better than that. Here's the actuality of that situation, right? Like, if Johni Broome does not do that in that moment, Texas doesn't get to stop the clock, get an additional 2 points, and then go set up a half court situation where they get another bucket there. Auburn probably still gets a double-digit win in this, if we're being honest. So not a great situation there from Chad, but good closing resolve from Auburn, knocking free throws down at the end of the game. good shot making at the end of the game from Johni Broome, Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones and Tahaad Pettiford making their free throws. Huge difference. No disrespect to any of these guys. But if you think about the point guard play and the free throw ability of our point guards last year, late game, huge difference. Chad Baker-Mazara, Denver Jones, Chad Baker-Mazara, not a point guard, but Chad Baker-Mazara in there, but Denver Jones and Tahaad Pettiford making free throws at the end of the game versus what you would have gotten from, a Trey Donaldson, a KD Johnson last year. Huge difference. Huge difference this year. And that's what you need to be able to close out games like this on the road in tournament situations is our guards who can handle the basketball like Tahaad Pettiford did against the press, or guards who can step up and knock down free throws when they're going to double team you and you get out of that situation. Huge difference right there. That is the margin that you have in this game. You win this game by 5 points and you get the late free throws. So excellent job there from the guards in this game to be able to do this. Ben Bloodworth here says, Ike, why do we consistently have one player on the other team go off on us? Tennessee, Yale, Texas. Is it something about our defense? No, it's the big guys are stepping up in their moment. And if they're good players, they're going to do that. A lot of those shots that Kaluma made tonight were tough shots. That's not bad defense. They're making tough shots. What else can you do besides force them into tough shots and tip your hat? Like if guys are going to make step back, fade away, contested threes, all that kind of stuff, your job is to say, all right, cool, you made your shot. Now we got to go make our shots if they're going to be making shots like that. And that's the difference between Auburn this year and last year. In that Tennessee game, in that Yale game, you have, all right, Kaluma's going to go off for 34 in this game. Cool. We're as a collective just going to put up more points because nobody else on your team is getting off. Like Pope had 19 and Johnson had 11, right? So they had 3 guys in double figures. The rest of the team, almost nothing, right? 82 points is around what Auburn surrenders per game, right? That Auburn did their job. They just scored enough points to be able to win the game. I think this is excellent defense tonight from Auburn. Robert says the free throws were huge. Agreed. Jazzy, I'm not even acknowledging that comment. You, my boy, and you already know what's going down with that one. Brad says, does Kaluma want to transfer to a better shade of orange? I don't know if he has any more eligibility left after this season. He is a senior right now, but I wouldn't be mad at seeing him play a year at Auburn because that boy could absolutely cook. Clint Murphy says, I feel like last year's team would have lost this one. I agree with this comment. I think last year's version of Auburn basketball loses tonight's game. I agree with that. I don't think we win this game last season with the collection of players they had. When they start closing that gap, you don't have the free throw shooting ability. You don't have the composure really from your guards to be able to handle the press the way that they did. That was a bad turnover by Denver when he got trapped in the corner. But he made up for it by knocking his free throws down after that. But yeah, I agree. Last year's team probably loses that game on the road. Yeah, agreed 100% with that. Lawrence says, I'm cool with it. Most of Kaluma's shots were contested. I don't see many people going off for 30 plus on Auburn often. Agreed. Shout out to my guy, Jazzy. I think this is just because he made a comment that he knew I wasn't going to read. He gave us some memberships there. Appreciate you, my boy, as always. So yeah, man, definitely appreciate you guys jumping in here, talking a little Auburn basketball late night on what day of the week is this? It's Tuesday, late night on a Tuesday. Auburn gets the win. Michael Crabtree jumping in and says, winners win, bottom line. Yeah. But see, listen, they didn't cover the spread. So it's going to be interesting right now, right? I talked about the potential of this before the game. Will the AP say this is a good, solid win for Auburn versus a scrappy Texas team? They should be the number 1 team in the country because they only have 1 loss and Duke has 2. Or are they going to be some expletives and say, well, Duke beat Auburn head to head, and what was the Duke game on the road? Somebody look that up for me because I don't want to have to click off of the stream. But did Duke win at home or on the road versus Pitt today? If somebody can let me know here in the comments while I'm continuing to get to these comments that you guys have, that's going to be interesting to me to see. Also, I need to look at two things to determine. So it was a home game. Nope, Auburn should be number one. Blowing out a team at home in conference is not as impressive as getting a road win versus Auburn should be the number one team in the country when the next poll comes out. Forget all of that other stuff. This is a tougher situation. Who's number 3 in the country right now? Who was number 3 coming into the night? Somebody look that up for me as well. Michael Carlisle, hard to win on the road in the SEC, just as Kentucky and Tennessee. Agreed 100%. Iowa State is. Auburn beat Iowa State in the head. Yeah, Auburn's the number one team in the country. Auburn's the number one team in the country. When the next poll comes out, Auburn's going to be number one. There are no more undefeateds. The guys in striking distance of them that only have one loss is Iowa State, who you beat in a neutral site, and you just won a road game in the conference while watching two other teams in your same conference go on the road and get housed. Auburn's the number one team in the country after tonight. No doubt in my mind, Auburn should be the number one team in the country as of right now. What happened in that Mississippi State game? Did Mississippi State go ahead and get that dub versus they did? They won by 12 points versus Vanderbilt. But yeah, Auburn should be number one. Wait, when does the next poll come out? Not until the top of the week. So Auburn's going to play one more game before this poll will release. So, I mean, you got to win your next one, and it's on the road versus South Carolina, who I think you match up better with South Carolina than you did with Texas tonight. So I'm not counting that as a dub, but as of right now, Auburn should be the number one team in the country. Florida winning tonight will probably put them in the top 5. What were they ranked before this game against? They were number 8 and they just beat number 1. They've only got one loss on the road versus Kentucky, which they only lost that game by 6 points, scoring 100. Tennessee is going to drop to like number 6 or 7 after tonight. And Florida will probably jump into the top 5. If I were to venture a guess, thinking everything holds true at the teams in the top 10 right now, Auburn right now would be the number one team in the country. You probably will still have Iowa State as number 2. Florida really should be number 3 if we're being honest, but Duke is probably going to be number 3. Who's number 4 right now? Duke is number 4. Number 5 is, I don't know. I'm not looking at the poll. Anyway, it don't matter. If Auburn handles business versus South Carolina, they'll be number 1 when the next poll comes out. Let's see. What else are y'all talking about here? Appreciate y'all for jumping in here with me, doing a little reaction to this win. Auburn came back down to earth a little bit statistically. They were shooting well over 50% for portions of this game. In the game at 48%. 15 assists on their 29 made baskets. So a lot of one-on-one action happening late in that game for Auburn because they were doing the assist to bucket ratio was a lot higher earlier in that game. Only 6 assists tonight for Tennessee on their 26 made. So they had 20 buckets that they had to just go find tonight. 6 assists while turning the ball over 11 times. Auburn had 10 turnovers in this game, which is about what they're averaging per game. But a lot of that came late in some sloppy situations there. And that's happened a couple of times for Auburn in games where late in the game, they get a little careless with the ball. And team's going to ratchet up their defense and everything later in the games, but Auburn's got to do a good job of being careful with the basketball there. Kaluma had 34, 8, and 2. He was their leader in points, rebounds, and assists. He led in every statistical category for them, which, I mean, Johni Broome did points, rebounds, and assists for Auburn. It was the Johni Broome versus Kaluma. I thought that this was going to be a game of the freshmen and which freshmen played better. Let's just kind of look at that narrative because that's something I was talking about pregame. Is was it going to be Trey Johnson or Tahaad Pettiford that had the better game? Um, Tahaad tonight had 10 points on 3 of 7 shooting, perfect from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, no assists, and a turnover. Trey Johnson had 11 points on 5 of 31 shooting, 1 of 2 from the free throw line with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. I'd say it's pretty much even. Like the only difference here, Trey Johnson played 37 minutes and Tahaad only played 17. So actually, I think maybe you give the nod to Tahaad, right, in the matchup of the true freshman there within the conference. Marion Thomas says Tahaad Pettiford still playing with a high school mentality. I don't know about that one, my boy, but he definitely has some things that he needs to do better in this game to be able to. Is my camera going out randomly for y'all? And can y'all can y'all still hear me, or is my connection being laggy for y'all? Let's see here. Prentice said Hod had a good game. I think overall he had a much better game this game than he did in the last one. He didn't have as many curious turnovers or anything like that. So definitely shouts to him and how he played there. Connection solid. Okay, cool. Like every now and then the camera like goes out over here for some reason. Robert, congratulations to Bruce Pearl, 214 career wins at Auburn, winning his coach in Auburn history. Definitely big shout outs to him for that. Ben asks, is Birmingham an NCAA tournament site this year? I don't think so. I'm not sure actually. Not sure about that one. Haven't even looked at that. If they are, there's no way Auburn gets it this year. They're not as a 1 seed. They're not going to put a 1 seed at the crib for first round. Michael Carlisle says no, it's in Atlanta, and they already talked about this. Actually, that Atlanta was going to get that first round for this region. So yeah, I forgot about that. Marion says he dribbles the ball too much and then tries to make things up late in the shot clock. He missed some passes to big guys when he drove the lane. So you could say the same thing about Denver Jones tonight, and he's not playing with a high school mentality. You could say the same thing at points in times for Chad, and he's not. So my contention is not that you're not wrong about sometimes the ball gets stuck. Because if you were here on the live stream when I talked about when I was reacting to the game live, I said the ball is getting stuck too much tonight, and it's getting stuck sometimes with Tahaad in the game. But I don't know that he's still like I take umbrage with the idea that he's still playing with a high school mentality. I think that that the offense gets like that sometimes, and Tahaad is not immune to that, just like everybody else. On the other hand, I think Ja'Kai Howard still plays with a bit of a high school mentality sometimes. So yeah, I don't know the way he handled the ball at the end of the game to make sure, like he's a one man press break. Cool and calm, collected when he steps to the free throw line late game. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I can't rock with the high school mentality. But again, I think it's fair to say that the ball gets stuck sometimes when he's in the game. I think that is a fair statement. I think high school mentality is not fair. Again, that's just my opinion versus yours. You're welcome to have a different opinion. Jazzy with the super chat. Thank you so much for that. This game was a great learning experience, even while playing sloppy late in a hostile environment against a player who was hot all night, still got the win. These are the kind of gritty wins that you're going to have to get in this conference, man. When they go play Mississippi State, Josh Howard's going to have a game like Kaluma had tonight. And you're going to have to figure out a way to just weather the storm of him continuing to make contested buckets and going and getting your own shots on the other end, staying collected and not going out there trying to feel like you got a match shot for shot, but feeling as if we do need to go and counterpunch at some point in time. I love the way that they were able to get good shots towards the end of that game, and even make some tough shots towards the end of the game, especially being able to make the free throws. Love it very much. Michael Carlisle says, love how Howard is playing. I love his aggressive mentality. I think sometimes he's a little too shot seeking as opposed to offense seeking. And the difference, I think, is like he's not waiting for the offense to necessarily come. Sometimes you need to be aggressive. I think that sometimes, though, the when you're talking about the ball getting stuck somewhere, Ja'Kai Howard gonna put that. He gonna shoot that. He letting it go, fam. So um sometimes I wish that he was a little bit more patient with the offense. But also I think his frustration is sometimes when he's open and he's not getting the ball, he's like, man, when I get it, I got to take my opportunities because I don't know when it's going to come back my direction. I'm already not playing a lot of minutes, right? And so but yeah, the aggression that he's playing with, I love how he's playing on the defensive end. The only thing I wish Ja'Kai Howard did a little bit better, which he did tonight, is go to the glass offensively, because he has such athleticism that he can go in there and create havoc even if he doesn't get the board. If he gets a better mentality of, if it's coming off the glass, I'm going to go get it because I have that kind of athleticism, I think he changes the complexion of how he impacts games. Let's see. What else we got going on? Marion apparently is not a fan of Tahaad Pettiford. Michael Carlisle says, agreed on Howard, loved the aggression. Listen, I'm not mad at the aggression. Again, I just think sometimes when he catches the ball, and I said I was calling this out during the reaction show, I was like, oh, he's definitely shooting this. Like when it swung in his direction, I was like, he's shooting the ball. There's no doubt about it. Prentice says, I don't know if communication is coming to Johni when he gets double teamed. I mean, I think he passes out of the double team really well. Where he gets into trouble, right, is when they bring the late double team from the high side, right? So when he goes into his post action on the wing, right, and then he dribbles the ball down facing the defense, right? Usually he's going to catch the ball on the left side of the court so that when he drop steps, he can drop step over the right shoulder, right? So when he catches that ball and he gets into the low post down and he makes his turn towards the baseline and they bring that late double team from the high side, that's usually when Johni is getting into trouble with his double team situations. When they try to bring it from the baseline, he does a pretty good job of doing that. I think if I were a defensive coach trying to coach against Johni Broome, I'd be a little bit more patient on when I sent my double team. Let him get into his action, which I think Texas was trying to do a little bit, but only when he has a close side. If he's in the middle, you can't double him. You can't double Johni in the middle of the court because it's too easy for him to go either way. You need to go close side, late double team once he starts to get into his move. Which is difficult because Johni goes quickly a lot. But I think I'd rather live with Johni going quickly and potentially him missing it because he's trying to force like a little quick bank shot or something like that than letting him get into his action and sending the double team early where he can pass out of it quickly. So anyway, that's just a old random giving scouting report tips and all that kind of thing, but whatever. Super chat here from Dwayne Logan, says, appreciate y'all, love this team. I think we can win a natty this year. War Eagle, I agree. This is a national championship caliber team. Got to do a lot of work between now and then to make it happen. Ben says we play South Carolina before the next poll, right? You are correct, Ben. They play South Carolina this weekend. Did my thing just jump all the way back up to the top? That's been a while ago that you said that. I don't know why I'm so far up in the chat all of a sudden. Marion says the referees are not giving Pettiford the call on his drives to the basket. He has one of the Jay Will had the whistle like this when he was at Auburn, where it just seemed like he would get fouled consistently and almost never get the foul calls. Tahaad is getting that same. A lot of the bumps and stuff that he gets called for, he's not getting that call on the other end, and I don't understand why that is. Well, I do in some instances. He's smaller, and he's also a freshman, so he's just not getting the benefit of that. But he probably should go to the free throw line 4 or 5 times per game. He really should. Prentice is asking for the plus minus numbers. I got you right now. Let's get the visitor stats plus minus numbers for Auburn basketball. And you know what? All right, so only people in the negative plus minus were Jakai at -4, Chris Moore at -9. We'll come back to Chris Moore and his play tonight. Everybody else had a positive plus minus. Denver Jones was +5. Johni Broome was +3. Chad was +7. Miles Kelly was +13 tonight. Dylan Cardwell's a +2. Tahaad is a +1. Chaney Johnson a +7. I'm actually surprised Chaney Johnson's plus minus is so high, but Chaney was a +7 tonight. So Jakai and Chris Moore had the only negative plus minuses out there. Chris didn't have bad minutes, right? He took open shots, which I love. I love the fact that Chris was willing to take some open shots in this game when he had those opportunities. And I don't think either of them were forced. He made one of the 2 3-pointers that he had out there. And that's a big three in a game where you only win by 5. Chris Moore knocking down an open 3 puts you in a much more comfortable space at the end of the game. That's a very big 3-pointer there for Chris Moore. But he didn't statistically impact the game in any other way other than 3 fouls. And one of those was the late foul against Pope that was the and one there right before the hook and hold. So he doesn't get you any rebounds, doesn't get you any steals, doesn't get you any block shots in this game. And Chris is a defensive guy. For him to have a negative plus minus, I'm not loving that. So he's got to figure out how to be more impactful on the game when he comes in there, even if he's not going to take shots. Luckily, he didn't have any turnovers either in the game, though, so he didn't negatively impact the game directly. But the offense definitely doesn't flow as smoothly when Chris Moore is in the game. Same thing again for Jakai Howard, right? He has 6 points in this game, 3 of 4 from the field. He has 1 offensive rebound, which he got, plus the and one that he puts up in there, but a steal. But statistically not impacting the game. And when you're going to play limited minutes, you need to be able to impact the game in what, like, that's why I love Chad Baker-Mazara, right? Chad is a guy who scored 16 tonight, took 8 shots, but first half, he was barely doing anything as far as shooting the ball, but he was impacting the game in so many other ways in the first half, right? Like, find ways to impact in other ways. Get steals, be scrappy, get, force shot clock violations when you're in there in the game, getting rebounds, getting to loose balls. You need to figure out how to say, how can I be of maximum impact, even if it's not scoring the ball? And I think that is going to be the growth in a guy who athletically has such a high ceiling like Jakai Howard, is finding other ways to impact the game. Because unlike Chris Moore, he has the physical tools to be able to be an offensive threat as well. So if you're going to get limited minutes and you're not going to get a lot of shots, then I'm blocking shots, I'm getting rebounds, I'm getting the loose balls, I'm in the passing lanes, I'm doing all of those things that my athleticism allow me to do. But commit to that and say, all right, cool. If I don't get but 3 shots in this game, it's going to be hell every minute I'm in this game on the defensive end. You better box me out on the offensive end or I'm going to go get to the glass. I think he needs to be able to do that sort of thing. Let's see. Dylan's early foul trouble says Lawrence messed up some of his production. Foot defend without fouling. I don't know what the foot was supposed to be. But yeah, I agree with that. The early foul trouble messed up a lot of the rotation stuff that they were trying to do for sure. Brad says, when Simo hit the 3, I was yelling, bro, don't take that. Great job. Don't do it again. I actually was glad that he took that 3. It's open. Here's the thing. If they're going to leave me open, I got to make them pay in some sort of way. So if I'm not going to take that 3, then I'm going to drive the ball and aggressively attack. You have to be a threat when you're out there, not just a guy who's taking up space and going to hold the ball and pass it when you get it. Be a threat. So whether it is taking a 3 when it's wide open or getting the ball and saying, oh, cool, shoot, I'm wide open, I'm going to give you a little pump fake and drive, be a threat some sort of way out there. I hate that he missed the other little short bunny that he had. Because I thought that was an easy shot that he should have been able to make. But yeah, be a threat out there. So I'm glad he took that shot, actually. Let's see. Prentice says Dylan needs to learn to stay planted and not try to block everything. Dylan's done a better job for the most part this season of doing that, of not jumping too much or using verticality when he's contesting. Tonight, he was a little too aggressive. I thought Johni was aggressive sometimes out on the perimeter. So Auburn, I think, just did some things in this game. And this is honestly, this is the beauty of this, right? So work with me here. The beauty of this is Auburn still has not played their best basketball. And there are things that are absolutely fixable that they did tonight that you've seen them do better. And so when you're in a situation where you haven't played your best, but you haven't gotten blown out by anybody, you can always still be coached and you can still be made to be humble in practice and in the film room. I love that about this team. Not peaking too early, even though that they're 13-1 right now on the season. Um, you still haven't peaked, right? Haven't peaked, but you're 13-1. It's a good place to be in. Very good place to be in. Let's see. What else do we have here? My guy Woolby says Pearl equals Saban in basketball. You got to get me some rings before I'm ready to go Saban. But I understand what you mean about like keeping a team humble and all that sort of thing. But we're not ready to go Saban until he gets a couple of the SEC championship banners are cool. Let's get some natties before we start making the Saban comparison. Prentice says, I don't know. I thought they played some of their best basketball against Duke. Some of their best basketball, lost that game and could have done things better in that game to win it. So this team still hasn't reached their ceiling. That's my point here. They still have growth that they can do in this game. Appreciate y'all for jumping in here, man. If you haven't hit that like button, go ahead and do that. If you haven't shared the content with somebody, go ahead and do that. I'll stick around here probably for another 4 or 5 minutes, though, in case you guys want to do some more reacting here. Auburn gets the win 87-82 on the road versus Texas. This was going to be a tough game regardless. Again, I said that on the pregame. I said that in the preview. Everybody's like, oh, man, they're going to blow Texas out. I'm like, I don't know, fam. Like, y'all got to see. Here's the thing, man. Auburn's good. Y'all got to watch some more basketball. Y'all got to watch some other teams besides Auburn and see how they play and see how they match up. Again, I think this is a matchup that Auburn had the advantage in, but I just didn't see a blowout happening just because this is a tough shot-making team. Tyrone Long says Chaney Johnson needs to post up more and not shoot so many threes. I'm not mad at the threes that Chaney took tonight. Chaney took 3 3-pointers. All 3 of them were wide open. He took wide open 3-point shots tonight. And when he did go into the post, though, he made his shots there around the rim, got the easy dunk off of the backdoor cut there from the pass from Denver. But every 3 that Chaney took tonight, I am completely okay with him taking. I just need him to make 1 or 2 of them. Can't go 0 of 3 for it. Chris Culverhouse says they played awful against Duke. Not sure what game others watch. I wouldn't say they played awful in that game. Only lost by 6 on the road. I think the difference in that was really the free throw line for Duke. And Duke making some Hail Mary-ish type of shots to be able to extend that one. So I don't know about awful. They didn't play their best game. And so and to the point that was made earlier, they feel like that was the best game they played all season. I say the best game that Auburn played completely all season was probably Houston to this point in time, as far as a team that's tough. Now, the Memphis game, they destroyed Memphis, destroyed North Carolina. But against a team that can punch back, I'd probably say Houston was the best game overall. You saw a little bit of everything from Auburn in that game. But yeah, that one be the one that I would go for. Let's see. Chris Culverhouse says Chaney struggled tonight for whatever reason. This was his worst game so far for me. It was. I mean, he was tripping over his own feet. He had the one situation in the where he almost lost the ball and it got to Ja'Kai some kind of way. Yeah, I don't know. This was last year's Chaney Johnson early in the game where it was just like he just didn't have the I don't know what it was about his night, but tonight Chaney did not seem to have his reactions just weren't there. His feet weren't with him. So I don't know if his mind was in another place, but this was not a good job, a good game by Chaney tonight. So we'll see. Hell says Auburn equals number 1 full stop. Right now they are number 1. I got one more game before the poll comes out to solidify that. William Hazard says Auburn loses focus and plays sloppy at times. Yeah, they do. I mean, listen, this is professional teams do that. Listen, basketball, it will always be a game of runs. Every single year, people say that it's a game of runs. People are going to run and they're going to, your job is to embrace it, the runs that they have, and then punch back and go on a run yourself. And Auburn has done a good job this year of making their own runs. So yeah, don't disagree with that they do that sometimes. Ben Bloodworth says, Ike, what do you think happened to Tennessee today? Was it a bad matchup? Was it mental? I didn't watch the totality of that game. I won't say it's a bad matchup. I just think Tennessee, they missed a lot of, when I say a lot of open shots in the first half, they missed a ton of open shots. And I really stopped watching that game. I didn't start watching it until maybe about halfway through the first half, and I stopped watching it probably about, well, it's when the Auburn game started, or when I started our pregame, I stopped watching it. So I think a lot of it was just that they weren't making shots, and they were getting some decent looks that just weren't making them. And again, I have to call everyone's attention to this. Let me see if I can find the final score for that game. Florida scored 73, right? Florida averages way more than 73 points per game. Let me go look it up. But what I mean, what I'm saying in saying that is Tennessee's defense actually was still good in that game. They lost by a big margin because they couldn't score. They only scored 43 points in that game, but they still didn't get run off the floor as far as how many points they gave up. So holding a team that is averaging in the 80s to 73 points is actually still a good defensive performance. So that's why I disagree with people saying, "Oh, Tennessee's trash." I'm like, we got to look beyond the score and kind of look at and peel back and say, well, I mean, they held a team that's scoring in the upper 80s to 73 points. Their defense was good. It was their offense that failed them. So the question is Florida's defense that good, or was Tennessee's offense just that bad and just didn't travel well? I think that is the thing that you have to ask yourself. And if Tennessee's going to struggle to score on the road, then that's going to be a bad omen for them when they have to make a trip to Neville Arena. So, yeah. Let's see. Best game, G Curry says Purdue. Uh, I think that's Purdue's just not a good matchup for Auburn. I think for a team that matches up well, I'll still go with Houston top to bottom. Iowa State matches up well with Auburn. I don't think Auburn played particularly well in the first half of that game. Iowa State was kind of making everything though. But I think top to bottom, Houston was probably still the best performance of a team that I feel like Auburn matches up well against. I just don't think I don't know that Purdue matches up well with Auburn. I don't think Purdue really had a legitimate shot at winning that game. That's just my opinion about like the matchups. Dwayne Logan says that Tennessee couldn't buy a bucket, not a free throw. They missed layups. It seemed like the rim was super small for them. It's crazy. Absolutely nothing went in for them. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't necessarily that they were just getting dominated out there. Again, the final score is going to look like, man, Tennessee got dominated. I think you got to watch the game and look at the nuances of it a little bit more. Now, where they absolutely did get dominated, and I'm not looking at the box score because I'm not here to break down every SEC team, is it felt like they were getting dominated on the glass, particularly the offensive glass. But that's what Florida does to everybody. Florida's one of the, if not the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. So they're going to do that to teams. But you've got to make shots again. Teams that don't allow you to get easy buckets, you've got to be shot makers there. I don't know that Tennessee has enough tough shot makers. As good as I think a player Lanier is, he needs airspace to be like, you know what I'm saying? He's got to make some tough shots, and he doesn't make a lot of those when you run him off the 3-point line. I think his name is what's the guard's name? Last name starts with a G. Gladney. I can't remember his name right now. It's not coming. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I think he's probably one of the better shot creators / makers on that team. But I don't know that they have a lot of guys that can just go and do that. And honestly, that is what you need against a team like Florida. And that's why Kentucky was able to score so many points at home. They have tough shot makers on that team for Kentucky. Now, those tough shot makers clearly didn't bring their offense on the road today, but and that's a game I almost didn't watch at all. So I can't tell you what happened to Kentucky today versus Georgia, but I feel like it was a physicality game. And this is the thing I said about Georgia. I think Georgia's just a really physical team that's going to make it tough for you to get airspace on them. So I don't know. Anyway, G. Curry says I can get with Houston, but Iowa State was the best matchup so far. Auburn beats Duke anywhere but Cameron. I don't disagree with that. Don't disagree with that at all. All right, y'all. It's getting late. I got to get up for work in the morning. I appreciate you guys jumping in here. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up on this. Go ahead and like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back at you guys with the midweek report. Some of the other guys will probably jump in and react to this game. And we got plenty of football news to talk about. I'm out of here. Until the next time. And as always, War Eagle, peace.